Well, good afternoon, everybody. Please continue to enjoy your lunch, but we will get the program started. And I just want to thank you for being here and welcome you. My name is Tim Sink. I'm president of the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce. I wanted to start off by expressing my appreciation to Cleveland Waters and Bass for sponsoring today's event. They have been a wonderful partner for the Chamber of Commerce over many years, supporters of the community. Phil Hastings and Ben Lewis are here with us, and Phil is one of my former bosses. He was on the Chamber board for a while and serves as board chair, so very grateful to Cleveland Waters and Bass for your support, so thank you. So we have a number of board members present. I always like to recognize them. Scott Laughinghouse from Ledyard Bank, Brenda Litchfield from Concord Commercial Real Estate, Dara Madden from Irish Electric, Ari Pollack, who is one of our speakers, is a member of the board of directors, Trell, and the boss is here, Tanya Rochette from NAMI, New Hampshire, and HRROI. Tanya is the new chairman of the board. So thank you, bosses, for being here. Appreciate that. Just a couple of upcoming events I want to bring to your attention. Our next forum is a breakfast forum. It is an economic update. It will take place on December the 2nd, a 7:30 a.m. breakfast. Our speaker is Dr. Osborne Jackson. He is senior economist with the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, and he was a speaker last year, did a really great job. He will be joining us virtually, but we will have a opportunity for both, I think. Remind me, Trias, that's a hybrid. You can attend it virtually, or you can come and have breakfast with us. So that is on December 2nd. And then lastly, I'll just mention there's a Christmas and holiday annual business after hours that is scheduled for December the 14th. This is an event we do annually in partnership with Concord Young Professional Network. And that is at the Grapponi Conference Center. There's no chamber charge for this, but this is a fundraiser for the Capital Food Program. So when you register, there'll be an opportunity for you to go to a GoFundMe site and make a contribution if you choose to do so, and we would encourage you because there's a real need for this right now. So we have 4 very exciting projects to talk about today, and 4 individuals representing each of these projects. So great opportunity for some terrific information, and also an opportunity for questions afterwards. So we will have each speaker come up, make a few minutes worth of comments, take a seat at the speaker's table here, and then at the end we'll entertain questions, as many as we can. Our first speaker will be talking about the project down at Exit 13, Ari Pollack, who I introduced earlier. Ari has been a land use attorney for more than 20 years, and he represents clients in all facets of real estate development, environmental permitting, and transactions, and he practices at Gallagher, Callahan, and Gartrell. So please welcome Ari Pollack. There we go.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Tim, you're a good cook, as always. What you have on the screen is our current concept plan. And when I say concept plan, anyone familiar with the development business knows that things float around for a while until you've taken the project to market, you see what fits, what doesn't fit, you make your changes, and you come forward with something that then changes again. And just to orient you, every good story starts at the beginning. This is the site of the former Concord Drive-In Theater. And usually there's about 10% of the room that says, wow, I remember that place. And there's about 10% of the room that says, I'm trying to forget that place. More recently, it was home to a significant homeless population. We did get some press coverage of trying to clear some of those folks out. We were frankly as delicate as we could be announcing our plans to develop the site. But one of the reasons the property had remained undeveloped or underdeveloped for so long was that it was part of the floodplain area associated with the Merrimack River, and the blue pieces on the bottom that are kind of jaggedly cut off, that's the river. And our process and our story for this project began approaching the city in 2019, yes, before COVID, and that's also significant. about making some changes to the zoning ordinance that frankly had already been in the works at the staff level, but would allow for a different reference for what is and is not part of the floodplain. And making a change from what had been viewed as a somewhat antiquated reference to Army Corps mapping to instead picking up the FEMA mapping that most municipalities rely upon. And that change opened us up to what's called CLOMARs and LOMARs, which essentially allow for changes in the floodplain by map revision. And so for the first time, this type of property in this location, we were now eligible to do some engineering to bring in fill in certain areas that are not sensitive and not wetlands, raise the elevation, and can suddenly put in foundations and building systems and other things that make what was prohibitively developable now possibly developable. And so that zoning change, some other tweaks that frankly eliminated the need for us to go through a variance and zoning process for a lot of what you see on the concept plan went through, I want to say, the fall of 2019. We all know what happened in the winter of 2020. Our process continued in terms of some targeted market inquiries, and now we are in front of the city for what's called our comprehensive development plan. We have a phase one of the project that is essentially 2 users that have stepped up and are now under agreement. The first of which is our multifamily housing partner. They're going to have, or at least projected to have, about 260 units of housing in 6 buildings. And those are the rectangular buildings that are along the river and then up on the high side of the site. And then behind that are the buildings shown in brown, and then some townhouse buildings shown in brown to the far rear. And that's intended to be a progressive lifestyle community for senior living. And we have had a tremendous amount of interest there. Frankly, it's just a matter of time before we get that user online. If you take your eyes to the left side of the screen where the project is between Manchester Street, that you're all familiar with, and Black Hill Road, which is shown to be improved with a roundabout that may or may not stay, and I'll get into why in a moment. We've got an agreement with some folks you're familiar with at the Common Man to do a very upscale convenience and sandwich shop, gas and car wash facility between Black Hill Road and Manchester Street. And again, their elevations and architecture are beautiful, and they're going to be a great addition there. We're right now going through the comprehensive development plan portion of the city planning and permitting. That, for this site, is heavily dependent on traffic analysis. And so our engineering firm, TF Moran, has put together a traffic impact analysis and study, and we're trying to figure out right now whether we can get these uses in and out of there using the traffic control that's down off of exit 13 that was improved by DOT a few years ago. There is quite a bit of capacity there. What have we done to make sure it will fit? Well, we've held on to the idea of a big box grocer, which is the biggest yellow box that you see. We do not have a grocer signed up for that, but in terms of gauging impacts, it's good to leave it on the plan because you know if that fits, just about everything else will too. I wouldn't be surprised if, again, changes are made and that becomes something that's more office-oriented or a less intense use, and we'd have the comfort of knowing we studied something more intense. Our next steps in the process, we're going to be going back in front of the planning board to, again, try to finish up our comprehensive development plan. I'm guessing January or February, and at the same time submitting our phase 1 site plan, which would probably try to get us in the ground with at least some infrastructure in the spring. I know our housing partner is anxious to move this forward. They obviously see a need here in Concord, as many of the other project spokespeople will talk about today. Housing has been a priority for the city for a while now, and this project will most certainly do its fair share to deliver on that demand. I always use this analogy that small projects have small lists of complications and big projects have big lists of complications. This is a big one. There are a number of things that have to come into position. Floodplain, traffic, infrastructure, how to ingress and egress from this site, whether or not there should be one curb cut at Manchester Street versus two or more than two. All of those things are still in the conceptual stages, but it's an exciting opportunity, and we're getting a lot of interest from would-be users and tenants. And so I'll step aside and let others go, but then I'll be part of the panel if there are questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ari. Our next speaker is Mark Palat, and as Vice President of Development, Mark always plays an integral role in the growing Dakota Partners portfolio. He's responsible for all aspects of the real estate development and permitting process. Mark brings more than 25 years of both national and international real estate development expertise with a background in residential, office, industrial, retail, and hotel development. He holds a Bachelor of Architects degree from Roger Williams College. And to give perspective, we are talking about the Langdon Ave development program, so please welcome Mark Palat.
Hello, everyone. Not like the last project, mine's a little bit smaller, and mine is fully approved. So I've seen all the headaches, and now I've moved on. I would like to run through a video. This video will kind of show you the entire project, both from a point of view of the ground and from above of the entire project. The project itself is located in the south side of Concord off South Main Street, right off of Langdon Ave. Langdon Ave is a private road that feeds to Concord Bus Company, as well as to the property itself, as well as a rock climbing wall. As we drive in off of Langdon, the first thing you're going to see on the right-hand side is two office buildings that we had approved. One is 2 stories, the other is going to be 4 stories, roughly 60,000 square feet total. On the right-hand side is 3-story, 12-unit apartment buildings. We have 2 of them there. Then as we go further into the property, the next building is a 36-unit apartment complex. And then after that is a 48-unit apartment complex. All of these are 3 stories in height. They're all rentals within this community, as well as they're all affordable housing. As you round the end, we will be placing a clubhouse at the end where there will be a gym, there'll be a community room, leasing office, maintenance. We'll have an outdoor patio area, a playground just off to the side of it. And then when you start turning around the corner to head back towards Langdon, you'll have another 48-unit building that is there. And then after that, we will get it to a 36-unit building, apartment building. All of these look over a central green, kind of like a campus courtyard area. Towards the end here, there was another 12-unit building at the end. So we have 2 12 units at the end, 2 36, 2 48s, and a clubhouse that's roughly 2,500 square feet. As I mentioned, the site is fully approved. We've gone through the approval process, and so it's done. We're in the process of now getting into the closing, financial closing as well as land. The office building is on the market now, so they're looking for people to purchase that. It is approved from a site plan standpoint, but not from a building standpoint at this time. We'll continue up to the office entry point. The office has parking both in front of it and off to the right-hand side behind the rock climbing company. There's a rock climbing company that exists on the property, so there'll be additional overflow parking in that area. Should have brought some music with it. No. So from above, this kind of gives you a good look, if the video works, how the central green will work, and how the flow throughout the property will be. The architecture itself for the apartment complex is all based upon what was originally there. This used to be an old rail yard. The project is called the rail yard. And so we tried to mimic some of the architecture of an old rail yard type buildings within it. And that's just about it right there. As I mentioned before, the approval process went very smooth for us. I had a good engineering firm that laid it out, and we really didn't need any waivers at all. So the project being as of right, it went through the process fairly smoothly. I think we did have some opposition from the neighbors, but overall it wasn't all that bad. Can you go to the PDF? That's the site plan itself. That being Langdon Avenue being a private road, I had no frontage, so the site is set up as a condo. The units themselves are not condos, like I said, they're apartments. But the buildings themselves would be set up as a condo type development. We structured it to be 4 phases total. And going through the tax credit process, we were looking to hit the 9% tax credit round, but unfortunately we could not make it, but we went for the 4% tax credit round. We were awarded that round, which we combined phase 1 and phase 2, which was a 12-unit building, a 36, and a 48, plus a clubhouse in that round. So we've been awarded the tax credits. We're in the process of now going to our financial closing and the closing on the land. We expect to close this coming spring. We're in the process of preparing bid packages to go out in the street and start getting bids on local subs. I'm hoping to get those out the first of the year so they don't get out there too long, and hopefully get the shovels in the ground March or April and get this thing moving. With that said, we'll follow right after that into the August tax credit round for the 9% and file our application for that, and then file a 4% application, which will be for the next 2 phases, phase 3 and 4, which will be another 12-unit, 36, and a 48-unit building. So I'm hoping by spring of, not this coming year, but the year after, we'll be under construction with the second phase. With that. That was it.
Mark, that video was great. It really provided some excellent perspective. Our next project that we'll be talking about is on Store Street at the Store Street Shopping Plaza. Sam Calmerton will be our speaker, and in his role at Brixmor Property Group, Sam oversees leasing for a portfolio of 18 shopping centers throughout New England. This consists of approximately 3 million square feet of primarily grocery, anchored community and regional centers. During his 10 years at the company, Sam has been the primary deal leader for over 340 leasing transactions, and has also played a leadership role in the repositioning and redevelopment of several anchor boxes and outparcel developments. Sam serves as the ICSC Next Gen Chair for New England, overseeing the Next Gen Committee in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Maine. And he's also a licensed real estate broker in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Please welcome Sam Calmerton.
Hi everyone, Sam Calmerton with Brixmor Property Group. Thanks for having me today. I want to say thank you to the Chamber for inviting me. I'm glad to be here. Before I begin, I just want to talk a little bit, introduce Brixmor and myself. Brixmor Property Group is a publicly traded real estate investment trust based in New York City. We own 400 shopping centers across the country, mostly open-air, grocery-anchored shopping centers. One of the shopping centers we own is the Capitol Shopping Center on Store Street. That's the Market Basket Burlington Marshall Center. I handle leasing for Brixmor, basically for New England, Mass, New Hampshire, Maine, and a couple centers in Connecticut. I handle all the leasing from, the little nail salon all the way up to the grocery stores, Starbucks out parcel developments, et cetera. So any kind of new leasing transaction, I would be the point of contact for that. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about our property on Store Street and our plans there, and kind of get the word out that I'm looking for a couple more spaces, a couple more tenants for some of the spaces available. And yeah, right there. So one of the things that kind of led us to want to make a big investment into this center, which will probably end up being $10 to $15 million, is what the city did with Main Street. Obviously, I'm sure everyone knows, a couple years back, they brought it from 4 lanes down to 2 lanes, really re-energized Main Street. It was incredible what happened. Our management team kind of drove through that, and the buzz was culpable, and they thought, look, there's a real opportunity to kind of mimic what's happening on Main Street with our center, which runs parallel to Main Street. The other thing that kind of drew us in is we use this cell phone location tracking service, which is equally terrifying and also very useful, but it shows where the actual customers are coming from. So, I think Concord is somewhat of a transient community. People come in for work and then they leave. They live further than the typical radius would show. So the circle on that map is a 7-mile radius. The orange is where people are actually coming from to visit our shopping center. Those are people that, allow location tracking on their phone, and, when it stops moving at night, it finds out where their home location is. So again, terrifying, but very useful. So this is the plaza, and the proposed development is in the front of the center there. It's a 3-building development. We have a signed lease with the 110 Grill, who I'm sure many of you know, but they're a full-service restaurant who's expanding pretty rapidly. American fare, a little bit of a above-average ticket price. They're on the hard corner there of the main entrance in Store Street. We have a 3-tenant building in the middle, and then we're at lease with Starbucks for the last building on the end there. The middle building, like I said, there will be 3 tenants. We're at lease with 2 tenants on either end, and then we have a 2,000 square foot space available in the middle. All of these stores will have their storefront on Store Street, so it'll kind of create, a walkable street for Store Street, which the city was very focused on, and I think makes a lot of sense here. And I think this will end up being probably phase 1. I think we'll do this development, and then, we'll look to kind of do the same for the rest of the shopping center, upgrade the look and the feel of the shopping center, because right now it is a little tired, and I don't think it's doing the city and the community justice. I promised my development team that I would make a hard caveat that these elevations are subject to approval by the Architectural Review Board, and these are just renderings, not final approved yet, but this is what it's going to look like. Basically, here's the 110 Grill. There's the Starbucks on the end, and then the 3-tenant building in the middle. We have kind of like a brick look to match the other buildings in the city, trying to fit in with what's already there. And again, this is the site plan again. So, God willing, we will build this next year once the ground thaws, and we're really excited about it. If you know any local business that would be interested in that middle space, 2,000 square feet in that middle building, I'd love to hear it. I think all things being equal, we'd much rather have a local restaurant or retailer versus a national restaurant or retailer. I think it's just does better service to the community. So yeah, I'd love to talk to anyone if you have any ideas. Thank you guys for having me today.
Okay, our final speaker, and so be prepared to ask some questions in a few minutes. We're going to be talking about the Exit 17 development project. And David and Laurie Razio are the 2 partners of the Interchange Development LLC. They've been involved in commercial real estate in Concord since 2005 with the purchase of 2 Whitney Road. now known as Concord Crossing. So in 2012, they developed the mobile gas station on Whitney Road at Route 4 and are now working to expand the retail opportunities in the neighborhood with Market Basket and the Merchants Way development. So please welcome David and Laurie Razio.
Plenty of room for both of us. Right. Thank you, Tim, and thank you, Commerce. We appreciate the opportunity to speak about our development here, and we're inviting the questions actually towards the end of this. So the first, there you go. Where's exit 17? It's the northernmost portion of Concord. This is where Route 4 breaks away from Interstate 93. This is at the border of Bosquen and Canterbury. We're about 7.5 miles from downtown Concord and 14 miles from the retail developments at exit 20 in Tilton. Maybe the next, flip it. Here's a little closer view of the neighborhood anyhow, and give you a better idea about why exit 17. The river, Merrimack River, is just to the west of us, and you can see Route 4 there extending from the interstate highway. A lot of folks who live to the west and to the north of this location have to get to the interstate highway and then come back through the interstate highway to go back home. So the bridge is fairly rare over the Merrimack. So as a result, there's quite a bit of traffic which drives by this location. Today, maybe 20 to 22,000 cars a day pass by this spot, which is just less than what you might see at the bottom of Loudon Road, and quite a bit more even than what we see at 480 Road today. Maybe we'll flip to the next one. Laurie was going to chat a little bit more about the details of our development.
So kind of like what Ari was talking about, we also had to do a comprehensive development plan for Merchants Way. This is in the Gateway Performance District of Concord, so one is required. You'll notice that I've highlighted 2 private roads that we're going to have into the site off of Whitney Road. Whitney Road runs north-south or up and down on the page. Merchants Way and Interchange Drive are 2 new private roads that we'll be developing. Those provide the access to Market Basket in the back of the site or to the east, as well as all of the tenants that are along the way. The goal here was to provide uses that serve the needs of the area residents as well as people passing by on Route 4 and 93. So it provides a variety of uses such as grocery, retail, the liquor store. We're talking to a bank. We have multiple restaurant opportunities, and there is no housing component. A lot of people have asked about that because we did do a land condominium, and every time that was talked about in the paper, it became houses. So there's no houses. There's a small area in the very bottom right of the screen. You'll see a little yellow building. There's a small area left for industrial. That's about 7 acres usable. But in general, we're developing the 25 acres for retail and commercial purposes. Phase 1 is under construction now. It includes the Market Basket at 81,000 or so square feet. A lot of people have asked us on our Facebook page, how does that compare to the 2 stores in town? And it's essentially the 2 of them put together. They will not be closing any of those stores. That's always the next question. So you will have 3 stores in Concord, but you're not the only community to have 3 Market Baskets. So they've done this in Salem. They have 3 of them within 1.5 miles of each other. So it won't be the first time they've done this. What they're trying to do is to provide the newer amenities of their larger stores, like a Market's Butcher Block and Market's Kitchen and Cafe, which has indoor dining as well as takeout. This is what the building looks like now that it's under construction. And I did fail to announce on the prior page, but it's in this title here, that the adjacent retail to Market Basket will be a HomeGoods. So I'm excited about that, and for those of you who know where the other HomeGoods are, this is the only one in a 26-mile radius. So we've not had a HomeGoods in this neighborhood till now. So we're very excited about that. So as you can see, it's well under construction, and hopefully we'll be open sometime next year. Depends on the road project, which we're going to talk about in a second. So Dave,
Good. Oh, you could do that part.
okay, you talk about the liquor store.
Got your finger on it, sure. The liquor store is a perspective view, but it's actually under construction now and nearing completion. It's about 13,500 square feet in size, and this is something that maybe you folks are somewhat familiar with. Freestanding, adjacent to Route 4, and it's this is the newer design with the exposed timber that you can see there, which has become a bit of a brand for those folks. So this is actually the first new construction liquor store with solar panels. We convinced them to give it a try, and the City of Concord is interested in it as well. And from what I understand, we started a little bit of a trend, and they appear to be doing the same sort of thing now in Ringe. We'll flip to the next one. So this is a recent photo of the liquor store as it's under construction, and it's actually nearing completion. We intend to turn it over to the state in December, at which point they'll be then doing all their shelving and installation, and we're thinking maybe second or third month out of the year they'll open up. Flip to the next one. We go back one just for a second?
Sorry?
Yeah, I guess we went too far. Just off to the left, by the way, of that photo, you can't quite see, but we'll have 8 high-speed DC Tesla charging stations installed with room for additional 4 more. And actually, additional 4 more spaces for universal EV charging. So that's this version 3 superchargers, which will be fairly accessible to the interstate traffic volumes as well. Okay, pop to the last one. This is sort of an aerial view then, facing northwest. And that shows the Market Basket and the HomeGoods right in front of us, and a liquor store just a little bit further up to the top of the page. And additional construction coming soon. Laurie can talk about that too.
So this is our first tenant lined up for phase 2. This is a Wendy's restaurant at 2,500 square feet. This is one of their newer designs. This has been through the site plan process, so they plan to start construction in early spring, again, as soon as the ground thaws. This one features an outdoor covered patio, so that's one of their newer styles. We're excited about that. It also will have a double drive-through, which doesn't often happen at Wendy's, but they expect it to be fairly busy, so we're doing one of those. This is what you've probably heard a lot about in the papers, and this has been very important to the success of the project. We are in a public-private partnership with the City of Concord to construct improvements to both Route 4 and Whitney Road. There'll be 2 roundabouts, a double-lane or 2-lane hybrid roundabout on Route 4 at Whitney Road. That's the one that's got the white background, and then the one with the green background is a smaller one, a single-lane roundabout at the entrance to the shopping center at Merchants Way and Whitney Road. This was financed through the expansion of a tax increment financing district, or TIF district, with the city. It's a $5 million project roughly, where we're contributing a portion, and then the city's funding through the TIF pays for the rest of it. The purpose of it is not just to provide the capacity for our project, it's also to address some safety issues that were already there on Route 4, but it's also to provide for the future. The city plans on someday expanding Whitney Road, extending it down to Sewell's Falls Road, and so the capacity for the traffic that would be generated at that development has been built into this project. So the city's gearing up for the future with this. And then our last slide is just our contact information, because like the others, we're also looking for additional tenants, and hope you'll reach out to us. We have a website, we have a Facebook page, and we're on LinkedIn. So thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you.
So we do have a little time for some Q&A, and I think I'd like to kick it off. And if I could ask you to share the microphone up front, but I'd like to ask each project to just discuss, just in very general terms, as you were going through your process, what worked really well, what was easy, the easiest part of the project, and what was the most challenging to address. So I'll start with Orazio's.
Us first. All right. easiest part, I could probably handle that one. Sure. It's really just determining the demand. I think Laurie and I are neighbors. We live about 3 miles away in Canterbury, and we own some multi-tenant industrial and office space just next door to Whitney Road. So we understood that the neighborhood needs this type of development. There's plenty of cars going by, and we know plenty of folks. And so that part of it, I think, was the easiest.
We had a lot of challenges. I can't say, we don't have enough time. So it's been a long time for us, 10 years in the making. So we've had a lot of challenges. It included a rezoning of the site. It was all industrial. So that was probably the longest effort. There was a time in the past where the city even had covenants on the site to prohibit basically any development that was of any noticeable size. So we've come a long way since then, and we're happy we're here now. So we're not looking past to the past.
I think one of the hardest things was, when you're redeveloping a shopping center like we have, you have no build restrictions from the anchors, and you have to convince them that bringing in, the coffee user is going to energize the site and not take away from their parking that their customers are using. So we had to go through that process, which is an additional step in addition to the site plan approval. And also I think that sometimes it's hard to kind of you got to get everyone to the party. So it's hard to get the first couple people to say yes, and then once you get that momentum, then it's easier. I think in general though, Concord is a pretty strong retail market. There's not a ton of vacancy here besides the Steeplegate Mall. So there's retailers that want to be here and just can't find the space, which is not the same for every retail market in New Hampshire. So I'd say that's one of the strengths.
Thank you. I think the easiest part for us was the permitting. Truthfully, it went very, very smoothly. We started late winter and finished midsummer with approvals and design. And I can credit my engineering firm over there, Novus. They did a great job getting it done and getting it through. So that was the easiest part. I think the hardest part for us is the financials. Is doing affordable housing. It's difficult to make the numbers work. So every penny goes to the project. You've got to figure ways to be smart in the spending. We have environmental concerns, structural concerns, off-site improvements, and then a fairly large impact fees to go with it. So it all weighs into trying to make this project financially feasible. So that's the hardest.
The easy part for us was getting people excited about the opportunity to turn what really had been a forested, underperforming area, back from the glory days of the drive-in, and what was it going to be next? And when we started talking about an activated riverway, a trail, restaurant, we even threw the word brewery around. Everyone got excited about that. Putting some more housing down for Concord and bringing in some retailers to manage and balance a mixed-use site. We got a lot of buzz going, and I have to say, city officials, the council, the mayor, very excited and paved the way for the zoning changes that we needed to bring the project forward. The big challenge, quite honestly, was having retailers take a hard look at a site that was populated with homeless camps. And it was a safety risk that simply we couldn't market and show the property because people were not comfortable going down there. We had any number of misfires with our brokering and marketing group inviting folks to come look at the property and not feel as though it was a viable opportunity because they couldn't even get in there safely and evaluate. And so I have to give a big round of applause to the Concord PD. They did a great job working with us, partnering with us to get that site cleared out, to move some of that along. It's a very delicate situation. You want to be sensitive to all of people's needs, but it was a necessary step and a very complicating step for us as well.
Tanya?
This question's more for Sam, I think. For the Burlington building, the area that's facing the highway, the back ends of the building,
Yep.
Are there any plans for dressing that up a little bit, or cleaning it up, or
Yeah.
making it more appealing from the highway?
Yeah. I think it's a strength of the shopping center that we haven't really tapped into. I mean, I think there's 80,000 cars that pass by on I-93 every day. So you know, the retailers love having their signage back there. And yeah, I think we've always kind of looked at that as, you know, we're missing the mark there. So I do think we'll do something there. It kind of remains to be seen what we do, and it depends what we do with the rest of the shopping center. Burlington is oversized right now, and we're trying to convince them to downsize. They're 77,000 square feet, and their prototype these days is more like 25,000 square feet. So hopefully we have a box to work with, and we can kind of do something exciting there. So yeah, I do think we'll try to dress it up. Remains to be seen what happens, but I've also heard that, I mean, the state is doing a highway widening project, and I'm not sure how that impacts, that's like the pinch point of Concord, I believe. So I'm not sure how that impacts the rear of that center, but a lot of moving pieces, but yeah, I think that'll happen at some point.
Sam, if there's anything that we can do at the chamber to, you know, support that, we would be happy to do so.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Oh, here we go, Brenda.
Just one, I'm curious, David, more about your industrial pieces over there to the right. Are there conversations asking for that already?
We have, it's not for the, say, manufacturing type uses, more storage oriented, but, sure, we have had several conversations with folks about that.
How big of a site, 7 acres, did you say? back
Right.
there? Which could fit what? How big?
Well, we laid out at the time a 45,000 square foot distribution center for UPS, because they were looking about 4 years ago to relocate out of the O'Shea Industrial Park. However, we seem to be at the far southern portion of the sort of domain that they would be distributing to, so it wasn't great for them. So they decided instead to move to exit 20 off of 140. I don't think they've actually built there yet. But that's the size we laid out, but the land really should satisfy a much larger building, as that was a site-intense use. So we're thinking maybe 65, 70,000 square foot of traditional industrial space would be appropriate. You're welcome.
Yes, Ben?
For David and Lori, in terms of the Tesla charging station, how did you guys arrive on that? Were you incentivized, or was that you guys a couple Tesla users, or how did you?
No, right, sure. My son owns a Model 3, and he certainly drives us, literally. And we want to make sure that it's available for folks who are traveling up and down the interstate highway. There's a need for this sort of thing, and the need will be growing. We approached them, and they said, yeah, this is a fantastic location. They appreciate being brought to the table early on, so there's not a lot of saw cutting of pavement, moving curb around, that sort of thing. So we designed the infrastructure, Laurie and I planned the site to accommodate not only their 12 charging stations, but another 4 for universal EV charging. And we brought Unitil into that as well and said, we don't have to do this twice, let's make sure that the power is available on site. And we made so. And by the way, to incentivize, I suppose, no, we don't get paid, there's no rent. It's just what we consider an amenity to the property.
Jess?
I was just curious, how do people know you have them? Is there like a Tesla app or something?
Yeah, every Tesla driver just has it right on their screen, tells them where the nearest one is, and based on how long it is till they're empty, how soon they have to pull over and charge.
So it's an attraction for those people that might not have known.
Yep, it'll also tell them right on the app what restaurants are in the neighborhood. So we're definitely keen on getting restaurants there so that the Tesla folks have more reasons to pull over at that particular location.
Mark, I had a question for you. You talked about the very exciting housing project that you've got going on. You used the term affordable housing, and that could be quite a wide range, and they're rental units, correct?
They are rental units. It is a wide range. It usually looks at between 30 and 80% AMI, or the medium income in that area.
Okay.
For that. So that's, in each year, it fluctuates. It depends on the year, the locations, what that range is going to be, and how we model it at the end of the day.
Gotcha.
But, you know, like I was saying about the homeless, we had similar issues on the property as well. We have been in contact with Concord Homeless
Coalition.
and so we were trying to work with them to see if we can get housing within the complex as well for them to help push that along and get rid of that problem in this world.
Well, that's a tall challenge, but I appreciate you taking a strike at that.
Can I ask a
Oh,
question?
please.
I know I'm on the panel, but I have a question for Ari. Who is the multifamily developer, and how did you choose them? Did you go through a couple different?
It wasn't us.
same group that does Red Oak properties down in Manchester, they have a project up in Boston as well. They came to us, they were excited about the opportunity to get more into the downtown Concord area. We did some research on some of their other projects and properties. They're a well-run group that we think is going to do great coming downtown. Their elevations are part of our CDP application to the city for anyone who wants to take a look. Contact information is there as well, and I'm sure they're going to hit a home run there. They do a real nice job wherever they go. And I couldn't pigeonhole them to say that they are a quote-unquote affordable housing project, but I do know that they cater to workforce incomes, and certainly that's been their price point on other projects.
Mark?
Hi, Mark. What's the project that you have going? Is there going to be a light situation going into that affordable living down there? Because Langland's always kind of a tough in and out.
Yeah, we're going through a widening. We're not going to put a light in. We did the traffic study. It did not trigger us putting a light in there. And it really, once we got through the first phase, that's when it kind of triggered the light, not the widening of the road that happened. So we're in the process of working with the city on widening the road to the east side. We originally looked at moving to the west side, but that meant I need to get easements with the neighbors on the other side, Red Cross, Bacon Rub Company. So we're going to go the east side instead, move some poles that will make Concord Bus Company's life a little easier and turn in the corners. Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, so no lights necessary.
I have a quick question for Sam. One of the assets of downtown Concord is the Market Basket. It's great to have a grocery store downtown. There's been rumors for years that they've thought about expanding that store, and they may have control over that piece that's adjacent to them. Any thoughts or motion on that, do you think?
I was actually just talking to the Russos earlier about it. They have told us that they plan to keep the store, and I think they've told the city of Concord that they plan to keep the store. Frankly, if they left, I think we'd find a replacement for them relatively easy. Would love to see them invest in that store. Would love to invest in that store ourselves. You know, I think there's a clear need for a grocer in that location, even with the development up on the north side of Concord. I don't think that the current grocery is doing the city, justice, to be personally honest, perfectly honest. But yeah, I think for the time being they're going to stay, but we'll see.
Yeah, thank you. Well, since you're the engineer,
well,
go with you, Ken.
I got to ask Ari a question. Is there going to be any river access built into as an amenity for the residents there in that project? Or is that part of the plan?
It is. So it's part of the plan for our multi-family developer, but it's also part of our plan for the development as a whole. And we've been talking with city staff about how to protect that riverfront area, how to activate it is the action word, and whether or not the trail will connect to the developments or whether it will be key access because there will be people living there as well. But yes, the idea is to make this part of the Greenway Trail that has been discussed in Concord for a long time, to do our part to make those connections at a minimum with property rights, and I'm sure there'll be a good conversation about what more we can do. But we do show some parking on our plan. We do show an area off of Black Hill Road that, again, is a public road, so people will be able to get in and out of there. There's been conversation about a kayak launch. I mean, there's all kinds of ideas. This is a place where we have a lot of interaction with the state as well. It's shoreland jurisdiction. You need permits from DES. It sure helps to have the city ride along with us and explain that this would be a public amenity. But those are complicated permits. So the short answer is it's in the conversation. The longer answer is it's not definitive.
Tony?
Question for Ari and Mark. You have many units you're constructing. Do you have a distribution of 1, 2, 3-bedroom units? That always really impacts the schools. I'm just curious if you nailed that down yet.
Yeah, I can easily say we're not far enough along to have that yet. I'm sure that our multifamily partner is giving that a lot of thought and has a lot of experience with his other projects. But we haven't gotten to that stage of the site plan yet. We're still at the CDP. Mark knows.
Yes, I do. Yeah, we have 1 and 2 bedrooms, they're all designed. Again, we're looking at probably a 50-50 split overall. We don't see, what we found a lot with affordable housing is it's a lot of relocates within the city itself. There are some net new that come to it, but the impacts to the school systems are fairly marginal that we found throughout the states that we have done these type of projects. So, and unfortunately, the school systems have been diminishing in, enrollment, it seems like, in a lot of states and a lot of locations.
Other questions? Seeing none, I did want to mention, show my appreciation to Concord TV, great partners of the Chamber, and they're videotaping this so that this presentation will be available to you or other people that you may know that would be interested in this. So thank you, Concord TV. Thank you to our panelists. That was great information, very much appreciated. There's a lot of exciting things going on in this community, and this is really good news. And finally, thank you again to Cleveland Waters and Bass for making this program possible. We couldn't do these types of things without the support of organizations like Cleveland Waters and Bass. So thank you, and thank you all for coming. Have a great day.